So, if you're going to make sins, you can't avoid it, then try your best to avoid the major sins. And if you do that, you're sincerely trying to avoid the major sins, and of course the minor ones, but really stress on the major ones to stay away from them, then Allah will forgive your smaller ones because of your intent. Not that you say, well, drinking alcohol is a major sin, but cheating is a minor sin. So I will avoid taking alcohol, but I'll cheat all I can. No, it's not like this. It doesn't work like that. It means that you are trying to do good, but you may fall into some of these sins, but as long as you're trying your best to avoid the major sins and the minor sins, but especially the major sins, Allah is most forgiving. Inshallah, He will forgive your minor sins, having stayed consistently away from the major sins.
During Attahiyat in Salah, should the index finger be pointed throughout or only during Tashahhud, which is the way of the Prophet?
The book which describes the Prophet's prayer I mentioned before is outside. But since you insist on asking this point, the finger should be pointed throughout the Tashahhud. This is what is authentically recorded. There is no authentic hadith which states that the Prophet ﷺ raised his finger at the time of saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. There is no authentic hadith to that effect. It says that when he is in tashahhud, he pointed his finger. Some narrations mention that he moved it also. And moving it doesn't mean you're doing it like this. You know, some people are around in circles. So this is not moving your finger. You know, he moved his finger, keeping the finger pointed towards the Qibla, meaning that you don't move the finger here because you're not pointing to Qibla anymore. Nor do you move it down there because you're not pointing to Qibla anymore. Or over there, or over there. No, its movement is within a limited space. And also that movement should not be vigorous here, like this. Why? Because the Salah doesn't agree with that. This is not the way of the Salah. The people who prayed like that, when they get up and they're praying and they're bowing, Prophet ﷺ said you didn't pray. He taught them that prayer should be calm. You stand up, Allahu Akbar. You bow, Allahu Akbar. Everything done, you pause calmly. Does it make sense that He's going to tell us to do all that in the prayer calmly? And then when it comes to tashahhud, no. What matches the tashahhud is that we do it calmly in the same way that we do the rest of the movements of the salah. We should have a calmness in the salah. I know some people say, well, the Prophet ﷺ said it's stronger against Satan than iron. The true narration. But that is in this pointing, that it is strong in that sense. You're not pointing with a limp finger. Now some people make it and their fingers like this and they're just moving like this. No, it should be pointed strongly. But the movement should not, as I said, be this vigorous movement. Some people have gone overboard. They say, well, we thought that there was Satan there and that's what you were doing, knocking him on the head. No, this is not what the tashahhud is about. You're not beating Satan in his head. No. What happens is that when you are making tashahhud and you are moving your finger, then if somebody comes in the masjid, you're sitting there and they see you moving your finger, they know you're making salah, so they won't walk in front of you and break your salah. Become a Satan. As Rasul said, those who try to walk in front of you, try to stop them, and they insist, he said, fight them because they're Satan. So, this is protection against Satan in that respect.
Brother, my question is that Surah Al-Baqarah chapter 2 verse 225, it deals with usury. But in the footnote that what Yusuf Ali has given us, it is we can't define usury properly. And he quotes one of the Umar Radhiyallahu anhu. Continue?
Usury. You want to know what usury is?
No. I want explanation for this thing. In his commentary, you have said that...
Whose commentary?
Yusuf Ali's commentary.
Yusuf Ali.
Yeah.
Yusuf Ali, his translation and commentary of the Quran has been declared inauthentic. Inauthentic. Especially his commentary. He has many views which are deviant. He was himself not a scholar of Islam. He tells you opening in the commentary, the scholars of Islam say this, but I think it's this. This man just using his own opinion. You see, he was not a scholar, so he has many errors in his footnotes. You cannot rely on it at all, with very few exceptions. So don't use Yusuf Ali as evidence. Even in the text of the Quran itself, he has changed some of the meanings in order to coincide with his beliefs. There are many errors. One group in South Africa, they wrote a book called 1,000 Errors in the Yusuf Ali translation of the Quran. So it is not reliable. Get instead the Noble Quran or one of the other new translations.
When women wear rings, should they cover their hands?
When the women wore rings, remember, this hadith which we mentioned, those women came before the Prophet ﷺ, and what happened? He saw the bangles on their hands, not even talking about the ring yet. He saw the bangles on their hands, it was visible, and he asked them about those bangles. So, it means, as Allah said, إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا, talking about the zina of the woman, that what shows naturally, it's on her finger, on her wrist, whatever, she doesn't have to cover it. She covers everything but face and hand. What shows naturally of her beauty beyond that, she doesn't have to cover it. If she wears the proper outer garment, which covers the tops of her feet, as the instructions of the Prophet ﷺ indicate, and in the course of walking, some parts of her foot might become visible, she doesn't have to wear socks. Some people say, no, she should wear black socks. No, it's not a requirement. It's not a requirement. As long as she wears her garment as prescribed, covering the tops of her feet when she stands normally, if when she walks something shows, that she is not held accountable for. That is what shows naturally. إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا.
Does Iblis still live? If he lives, where he lives right now and in what form? And what is the connection between Iblis and evil jinn?
Is Iblis still living? Yes. Where is he living? In the world of the jinn, invisible to us. What was the third question?
In what form does he live?
What is his form? Allah alone knows. Was there a fourth?
And what is the connection between Iblis and evil jinn?
The connection between Iblis and evil jinn, Iblis is the leader of evil, the main enemy of human beings. Whoever among the evil jinn follow him, those who choose to disobey Allah or to disbelieve in Allah and to follow him, they are referred to as the devils, the shayateen. They are his followers. Not necessarily his children. I know some people try to argue that they are literally his children. This was not what was understood by the early generation.
What is the rule for giving 3 talaqs at a stretch?
The rule is don't do it. The rule is don't make 3 talaqs in a stretch. That is considered talaq bid'i. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when a man came to him and told him that he had divorced his wife, the number of stars there were in the sky, he told him, go back and take your wife back. 1 talaq is the sunnah. If you make 3, it is only 1. 1 pronouncement. Then you wait 3 months or 3 monthly periods. Once those periods are ended, then the divorce becomes complete. Prior to that,